Senator Patterson, you have the call.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome Director General and officers. I'm interested in the budget cuts to the ASD in the budget. There were two that I could identify, so I'd firstly want to make sure I've got those right and then there aren't any that I've missed. But a cut of about $9.3 million to fund additional oversight of the intelligence agencies, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Is the figure right? Yes.
And then another cut of $12.3 million for cyber security, which appears to be a transfer of some kind to Home Affairs.
That's right.
And are there any other cuts to ASD's funding?
Senator Patterson, I think you will appreciate that we wouldn't characterise either of those things as a cut, but you, of course, should ask your questions of the officials about the way the budget is structured. And
thank you. I'll come to that, Minister. I appreciate that. So just to clarify, there's no other measures that reduce ASD's funding or cuts or any other language it would use to describe taking money away from ASD?
There's a third measure that you can see in the portfolio budget statements that's titled Other Adjustments.
Unpack that for me. Explain that to me.
Well, the definition of an adjustment is that money that was to be appropriated to ASD, I guess from the contingency reserve, is now being appropriated elsewhere.
Right, so it's money that you won't get?
Correct.
And how much was that?
That amount has been designated as not for publication on national security grounds.
Okay. Can you give me a broad sense of the quantum? Is it comparable to the other two reductions? Is it much larger? Is it much smaller? Just so I'm in the ballpark.
I don't feel comfortable doing that, given that it's not an adjustment that we own, if you will, and it's better to leave it to the Department of Finance to provide us guidance about that.
Right. So can you tell me whether it's remained within the defence portfolio or whether it has gone outside the defence portfolio?
It doesn't. It's not in the defence portfolio.
Okay. So I couldn't even ask the Department of Defence about it. They wouldn't be able to help me.
That's right.
Right. So I have to ask the Department of Finance. So some unknown quantity of money has gone from ASD to some unknown agency for some unknown purpose that you can't share with me.
I think, Senator, if I can say this, I understand that the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security has been offered a briefing on this matter in particular. I think Ms Noble has indicated to you the grounds on which it wasn't published, but there is a forum in which those matters could be canvassed, and that is the PJCIS.
That may well be the case, Minister. It's news to me, but it's possible I've just missed some correspondence. I'll check in with the Chair about that and see if and when that has been scheduled, if that can be scheduled, because I think it is appropriate to pursue. So I guess we'll just have to set aside that kind of mystery cut and just focus on the other two for now. First of all, the $9.3 million to fund additional oversight of the intelligence agencies. Is it your view, Director General, that there was something deficient about the oversight of ASD prior to this measure?
Well, I don't feel comfortable expressing an opinion about that. That's really a matter for others to have judged whether the three entities that money has now been appropriated to, that being the PJCIS, the Independent National Security Legislation Monitor, and the Inspector General of Intelligence and Security. We certainly engage with all of those entities on an ongoing and almost daily basis.
Perhaps let's just talk about the impact on your organisation of the money rather than what it's going to. Were you consulted prior to the budget measure?
Yes, we were aware of the budget measure.
Being made aware of it and being consulted are two different things, though. Were you asked about what the impact of this would be on ASD, what you would have to cut in order to fund it, how much you could bear?
We haven't worked through that level of detail yet, so I need to work that through with my colleagues and then discuss with the Deputy Prime Minister what changes to our capability output might be a consequence of these adjustments to our budget.
Yeah, and look, to be fair, I don't want to over-dramatise this. ASD is, has a large and growing budget, particularly thanks to the red spice investment of the former government. But I also imagine that you're not prone to wasting money either. You're given that money because it's necessary, because there's a very serious purpose for which it's been appropriated for. So, where would you find savings of about $10 million over 4 years to compensate for this? What areas will you have to cut?
Well, I think, if I may, I appreciate, Senator Patterson, your attempt to bring some, your commitment to not over-dramatising the situation. The total ASD budget, of course, includes transfers from Defence, which are shown on the same on the same page in the portfolio budget statements at page 165. It also includes provisioning for the continuation of red spice, something which was not done under the former government and has been incorporated by this government. But Ms Noble may make any further comments she wishes to in relation to the direct question you asked about the impact of the funding for intelligence oversight.
Thank you. Yes, that would be good.
We're just in the process now of working through what capabilities that we won't now pursue as a consequence of the changed funding arrangements, and that's a piece of work in progress.
And I take from your answer then that it's not possible to reduce your funding in this way without it impacting capability. There's not, spare cash hiding down the back of the couch at the office that you can find to offer up this. There's not, the catering budget you can, dial down a bit to make up a cut of this quantum. It will have to impact capability.
We have to work that through, but as you understand, we have a plan for all aspects of our budget, both the operating budget and capital budget that comes to ASD, as well as the 11 major capability programs that ASD is delivering as part of the Defence Integrated Investment Program.
Okay. Moving on to the other measure, the $12.3 million, which appears to be a transfer to Home Affairs for cyber security of some type. Can you explain the background to that change?
So that's like a mini sort of machinery of government change. So the function of running the Act Now, Stay Secure National Cybersecurity Awareness campaign has been moved from ASD to the Department of Home Affairs. And so that transfer that you see there is the money that we had apportioned to that function has now transferred to the Department of Home Affairs for them to perform that function.
And what's the rationale for taking it away from ASD and giving it to Home Affairs?
To ensure that through Home Affairs sort of policy leadership that the awareness raising activities are all done in one place. So it was previously Home Affairs had a range of cyber outreach officers, I think they were called, for example. So what this does is just move the administration of that national campaign into the Department of Home Affairs.
Are people moving with it? Are there people who are previously at ASD who will now be at Home Affairs?
They were provided with 6 ASL, average staffing level positions, but as is fairly commonly the process, when the numbers are small like that, individuals are given a choice to either move with their function or stay with their home agency. And in this instance, those people who were working on the campaign have stayed with us, but Home Affairs will have the positions and we'll support them in the transition to make sure there's no interruption to the campaign. Okay,
and so the campaign will be delivered as it was planned to be, just from a different agency?
That's right.
And so it's not new money for cyber security in the Department of Home Affairs, is it? It's just a transfer of money that was previously allocated to you that will now be spent by Home Affairs instead?
That's right.
Okay. All right, thank you. Noted. Moving on to another topic.